All right, here we go, kids. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Great to be with you. The midweek edition of the show starts now. What's happening? What a It's been a handful of days. Not many, because I like my job. I like my job a lot, and this is not something I've always been able to say, but I like the people I work with, I like the people I work around, and I like the place that I work. But there have been a handful of days where Rob Brown has gotten the old morning stretch in and said to himself, I should just text Lonzo and be like, I'm working from home today. Everything's on StreamYard today. I'm working from the house. Today was one of those days. Today was a day I can say, I got this whole studio set up at the house. I invested time and money into setting myself up a home studio. Maybe I should home studio it. But, Lonzo, I tapped the Play Like a Champion Today sign that hangs over the door. The jersey went on. The ball cap went on. It's game day, man. You don't stay home on game day.
On behalf of the Fan Upstate and Odyssey Upstate, I would like to know, Rob Brown, what do we have to do to make you love your job? You mentioned you liked your job. What do we got to do to make you love your job? Don't
be semantics guy. I got one Chris in here already. I don't need another.
You missed the chance to go with this. That's I'm rubbing my fingers together in the international, maybe interdimensional sign of mo money, yo.
Mo money, mo love for the job. No, I do. I love the job. That's why I'm here.
Just trying to get you a raise. I'm being your wingman here. I'm trying to help you out.
Pretty sure that's not how it works, though.
Are you?
Yes.
Yeah,
I've been doing this 15 years.
You're pretty sure. That means there's a part of you that goes, maybe.
I can't conclusively say there's never been a situation where a host on the air has said, I'd like a raise. And the boss was like, oh, wow, why didn't you say so sooner, dummy?
No. I was a golden boy over here. I'm trying to help you, man.
True. Having Lonzo in the back pocket does help. That is correct. Ladies and gentlemen, what a show we've got lined up for you today. And I want to start with something. Lonzo and I were talking about the Ron Rivera incident this morning. And I want to play you a couple of clips of audio here. I am going to start, Lonzo, with clip number 4A, if you don't mind. Ron Rivera is the head coach of the Washington Commanders. Bum, 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 bum. And no, it will never get old to me.
I was thinking today, there are kids growing up who have to believe that the Washington Commanders is a thing, and the Cleveland Guardians is a thing. That's all they've ever known. I just feel sad.
Whoa, Guardians. We haven't played that hype song in a minute. We should dig that up. Blow the rust off of that one.
Digging might be the
correct answer.
Yes.
So Ron Rivera is the head coach of the Washington Commanders. Bum, 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 bum. And there was a clip of Ron Rivera going around yesterday, and I heard it on basically every radio show except our own. And it wasn't because I didn't hear it before the show. It was because it didn't impact me the way that it did. I heard DA play it. I heard Jim Rome play it. I believe Mark played it, and I could be wrong. But I heard, let me rephrase that so I don't get anybody in trouble. Every show that I listened to yesterday, Pat McAfee played it. Alex Smith on his podcast played it. Every radio show or podcast that I listened to played this clip. And I'll play you the part that every radio show except our own played, and then I'll explain to you why, despite the fact that I had heard it, I did not play it yet until today. a day after it's been beaten into the ground. Here is the clip that everybody has been running with, clip 4A.
Why do you think the teams in the division are farther ahead at this point?
Quarterback.
That's the clip everybody's playing. Ron Rivera, why do you think that every other team in the NL East is so far ahead of you? Quarterback. That's what everybody played.
It's a quick soundbite. It's something they can load. I mean, it's like 3 seconds. You know, you can jump in, get into all your opinions, and yeah, I get why they did it, and it's not unusual for only a portion of something. It's awesome, by the way. A portion of something to be. Now I will picture you doing that while doing karaoke.
It's not unusual to be. So Ron.
That's
Rivera's
not the
clip.
song I'll pick if you lose in the boot box, by the way.
Tom Jones.
That's not the song.
That's probably good. I would probably have more fun with that than I should.
Think more Jimmy Swaggart.
Da-da-da-da.
Think more Jimmy Swaggart.
Why would I do that?
Because you're going to lose a bet.
Don't love that. Better try. So Ron Rivera's clip. Ron, why is your team so far behind every other team in the NL East? And Ron Rivera's answer was, quote, quarterback, end quote. And of course, everybody done lost they mind, right? Oh, he just Hogan leg dropped Carson Wentz. Now, I understand why they would do that, because Carson Wentz doesn't exactly have the sparkling clean reputation of a player that is beloved by the teams he's been on. Indy dumped him. Philly dumped him. And the stories have run rampant that Carson Wentz is kind of a Delta Bravo. He's kind of a turd. So they've run with that, right? Oh, looks like Ron is finally over it. Looks like Ron is finally feeling it. He's finally throwing Carson Wentz up under the bus like everybody else. Even Alex Smith on his podcast was like, I can't believe that Ron Rivera threw Carson Wentz under the bus and backed it up over him. Well, hold on just a minute, please. Because turns out there's more to that answer. There's more to that discussion. Now, I've never done a press conference with Ron Rivera. Lonzo's met Ron Rivera. He's been around Ronnie.
Yeah, it's awesome dude.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Mark and I got to interview him a few years ago at Panther Camp, and not only an awesome guy, good sense of humor, answered every question we asked, and it wasn't one word answer. I mean, seems like people really enjoy playing for him.
I have not done a presser with Ron Rivera, but I've talked with a lot of people who have, specifically in this area. And Ron Rivera, though he is an NFL coach, and all of them have some level of to him, from what I understand, Ron's not really like a dude that's going to headbutt the media all that often.
I asked Ron Rivera if he ever took fashion advice from Cam Newton.
And what'd he say?
After he stopped laughing, he said, no, I mean, you know.
A lot of coaches would be like, dumb question, next. And Ron seems all right. So I was driving around. I was driving around one day. No, I was not. I was at the parents, the lady friend's parents one day. And I said something to the lady friend, and I got it was one of the situations where I got like half the sentence out, and she reacted to it. She's like, what? And I'm like, turns out there's more to that sentence that I was trying to say. And ever since then, anytime Courtney gets mad, her family's like, turns out there's more to the sentence, right? They love it. Well, turns out there was more to Riverboat Ron's sentence. Clip number four. Clip number four. Clip number 4 is the entire rest of that interaction. Now, as Lonzo pointed out, it's a little less radio friendly. It's a little longer. It's not exactly the most compelling piece of broadcasting you're ever going to hear, but I do think it's important. Here is that interaction in its entirety.
Why do you think the teams in the division are farther ahead at this point.
Quarterback.
Is that
I mean, with quarterback like the Cowboys, for instance, they don't have Dak Prescott this season and still have been able to
Well, they
win.
started with
Well, they started with him, but
Dak,
they've-
and they build around Dak, and the offense is built around Dak. Their backup's a guy that is very solid inside of what they do. And the truth is that this is a quarterback-driven league. And if you look at the teams that have been able to sustain success, they've been able to build it around a specific quarterback.
Chose the quarterback here, though. So do you have any regrets about that, or how do you?
No, I got no regrets about their quarterback. I think our quarterback has done some good things. There's been a couple of games that he struggled. But you look at his numbers from yesterday, and you would say, okay, look at his numbers he's had throughout the year. There was a time he was, very solid. And then, we had the unfortunate Philadelphia game, and he struggled a little bit in the Dallas game. But the way he performed yesterday, it just shows you what he's capable of. And, we chose him because we believe him. We chose him because we looked at what we felt were things that pointed towards him.
So there you go. He basically says, look, we got the guy we like. We chose him for the reasons we chose him. But you got to build around him. Or at least this is the way I interpreted it. And you're welcome to interpret it differently and tell me if you do. But it sounded to me like Ron Rivera said, the teams that are successful being built around a quarterback. We chose this guy. We just got this guy, but we haven't really gotten to build around him. Now, I would like to point out that while I do agree with Ron Rivera that it is a quarterback-driven league, I would also utilize what the information was that reporter put on the table and point to the Dallas Cowboys. They built around Dak. Well, they kind of built-ish around Dak Prescott, and then Cooper Rush comes in, and Cooper Rush has won every game he started so far. So maybe there is something to – it's not so much about building the quarterback as having one and then coaching well to the talent that you have. I'm not saying Ron Rivera's right. What I am saying is that if you contrast that to the clip that everybody was playing yesterday – in the media, Ron, why is your team so far behind everybody else? Quarterback. It is a much different, a much deeper, a much more nuanced answer. I don't agree with it, but it's not like he walked into the locker room and hit Carson Wentz upside the face with a baseball bat, Harley Quinn style, the way that the media is trying to make it sound like he did. And I have a problem with it.
All right, a couple of things. First of all, how do we know that Dallas didn't know what they had with Cooper Rush and actually built the team around him because they knew that Dak would get hurt because Dak always gets hurt? Put that aside. Why is there laughing in that clip? So that part bothers me. So what is this like a back and forth, like a podcast type thing, and Ron is laughing it up with the guys?
This was in the press conference.
Okay, so why is there laughing?
I don't know who was laughing.
Is there laughing like, oh, we got him? Oh, we got him now. I mean, and the laughing continues throughout. Whoever's recording this. Yeah. I don't know from whence you got the recording, but there's definitely laughter there. Like, and it's gotcha laughter.
Yeah. I don't know his answer. I don't know if that was media. I don't know if that was the folks who were put. We get that. We get our.
See, it doesn't sound like a press. I know what you're saying, and I'm just going from a producer standpoint. It sounds like a podcast.
I agree. And where I was going with that is we get our audio from a prep service, right? We pay for a service that compiles audio, and then every morning we get a rundown sheet that has a bunch of audio. Not all of it that we get. Some of it I got to go dig out on my own, but like we get a prep sheet that, we click on it, it opens the file, the recording.
All right. The reason why I'm asking this is because I personally have seen him in that setting where you're just sitting around a table and you're talking, because that's
this was a press conference.
It doesn't sound like
I am aware. I agree.
It doesn't sound like it. From an audio standpoint, it doesn't sound like it. I
agree. I watched it. This was a press conference. And now I got this audio from a rundown. I don't know if this audio was pulled directly from the presser. I don't know if it was pulled out of a podcast, and maybe that was a couple of hosts on a podcast laughing. I don't know where the laughing came from, which is why I didn't say anything about it, because I didn't want to speculate and be like, listen to the reporters giggling, because I don't know if it was or was not. It could have been reporters. It could have been somebody that was editing the video. Okay. It could have been that this audio was ripped from another podcast. I don't know where it came from.
It takes away from the supposed seriousness of what he's saying. I mean, how this is being blown out of proportion. It sounds like Ron is kind of he's got some laughter in his voice when he's talking. That's what I'm saying.
Let me clear that up then. He does not. The reporter does not. This was a press conference. This was a serious interaction between the reporter in question and Ron Rivera. The point that I am throwing down here is that yesterday, in listening to the conversation, right, it starts with the reporter going, why are you guys so far behind the other three teams? Because they are. The Giants are 4-1. Dallas is 4-1. The Eagles are undefeated, right? They are clearly the fourth best team in that race.
So what if Ron said, our defense needs to step it up? That's my responsibility. I'm a defensive guy. They haven't been playing like they should.
Let me be clear.
Would this be blown out of proportion the way it is?
Let me be First off, no. There's no other position that Ron Rivera could have said that about that would have gotten the reaction, right? Ask me that question 100 times. Hey, Ron, why are you so far behind the rest of the teams? The defense, defensive tackles, wide receiver, defensive backs, running backs, tight end. Like, there's no other position he says that about that gets the media scrutiny. And for the record, Ron needs to know that, right? In fact, since we're at this spot, give me clip 4B. All right, 4B. This is a few clips spliced together. This audio is courtesy of WUSA Channel 9 News in the DC area. This comes from the story that WUSA News 9 out of DC put together about this story. You are going to hear Ron Rivera, Carson Wentz, and then you're going to hear 3 or 4 players on the Washington Commanders football team talking about the apology that Ron Rivera unnecessarily issued. And I want to make a point after we played, but here's that apology and the response from the team.
I spoke to my team this morning. You know, I basically told them that I said some things that were misconstrued. I didn't present it properly, and that's on me. So I took accountability, told the guys that, I should know better, and I had a bad day.
Coach addressed it, handled it. Nothing for me that I'm overly concerned about. Coach is a very straightforward, upfront guy, and he addressed it in the team meeting, which I thought was really cool, and what he meant by it all. So I feel very confident in that.
He apologized, so that was pretty much it. We got Carson's back as far as this team is concerned, and it's not all on him.
I mean, I feel like what he said, people took out of context, honestly. So I know what he was trying to say.
I mean, it says a lot. I mean, if your leader can't take accountability, then how can he expect us to? So it was good to see that.
So you have Ron Rivera apologizing and saying, boat, I had a bad day. All right? I had a boat day. Then you had a handful of players, including Carson Wentz, come out and go, nah, I ain't worried about it. He apologized. He said it was misinterpreted. He addressed it in the team meeting, which is great. I think that's a stand-up move from Ron Rivera. I think it's a great move from the Riverboat Gambler, right? Here's the only direction that I'm taking this. Ron's got to know better, right? He's got to know that in a quarterback-driven league, as I agree with him that it is, the focus of most of us, those of us with these things, is on the quarterback. Carolina has been in turmoil for a year and a half. What has our conversation been primarily? Quarterback. What did Adam Schefter say was the reason Matt Rule got fired? Because he couldn't find the right quarterback. It is a quarterback-driven league, and the folks with microphones, the folks with keyboards, they focus on the quarterback. So Ron's got to know in that situation, if you were asked, why is your team bad? And your answer is quarterback, that is going to take some heat. But at the same time, I think it is, and this is why I do not like hot take artist in this business, right? If it's your style, enjoy. Go bananas. I can't stand it, right? I think what happened here, what ended up happening is that Ron Rivera had an interaction with a media member. I don't think it was negative. I don't think it was ugly. I don't think it was disrespectful. I don't think it was insulting. But Ron screwed up and he gave a soundbite. And the media, instead of going, hey, let me listen to the rest of this clip, right? I got in the car yesterday immediately after we were done with the show and the podcast. I got in the car. And that's the clip I hear Rome playing. Now, I'm not here to take a shot at Jim Rome. The guy's the godfather. He's the best in the business. Love him or hate him, the dude has figured out the program, okay? I get in the car, and that's the first thing I hear. He's like, all right, let's go to Riverboat Ron. Here's Ron. He got asked, why's your team so bad, Ron? And Ron said, quarterback. Jim's figured out the system, but even he did it, right? He took one word. How long was that long clip, Lonzo? About a minute? 45, 50 seconds?
Yeah, about a minute.
Somewhere in that ballpark. Took a 60-ish second answer and clipped out 2 seconds of it and said, this is what Ron said. No, it's not. No, it's not. He said a lot more than that. Like I said, if we only ever heard the full answer, there's plenty in there I could pick out and go, no, Ron's wrong. Ron's wrong about this. You can't say quarterback when Cooper Rush is killing it in the Big D.
But specifically for his team, he's right, though. But I just don't think he needs to back down. I think it's too easy to go, wow, everyone's making a big deal out of this. I better say I'm sorry. Don't say you're sorry. You said it because you meant it. And hopefully that player, think Belichick saying sorry? No. How many times did the Tampa Bay coach mention Tom Brady? And people were like, oh, I can't believe he said that Tom Brady was – I mean, you know what? Did he ever back down? No. Arians never backed down. Didn't need to. Rivera doesn't need to back down.
I don't have an issue with the apology because is the only reason the Commanders are bad Carson Wentz? Is he the only reason? No. No, there's a lot wrong with that team. And Riverboat Ron knew signing on to that franchise, this is a dumpster fire, and it's going to take me some time to get this thing turned around. So to say it's only Carson Wentz is not true.
He should have did the equivalent of that management email that points the finger at everybody so they don't have to point the finger at one person.
Here's what I don't understand. Why is apologizing bad? Right? Why is it bad? Like there's two things that this country poops on that drives me crazy. Number one is changing your opinion, right? Yeah, you know what? Hold this. I want to talk about this when we come back. And I want to talk about it from a sports lens, from a Ron Rivera lens, right? I want to talk about it from a Ron Rivera lens. Why should he not have I got no problem with the apology. The only problem I have here is with how the media handled it. We'll talk about that more when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I will.
Be right back, stream. Don't go anywhere. All right, y'all, we're back. Thanks for hanging around. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Good to have you guys. Yeah, so Ben said 45 on the stream. I remember hanging here with Keegan, Steven, and Trey. Yeah, so when we started this thing, Ben, it was interesting because, yeah, we get 8, 9, 10, and then we watched it grow to 13, 14. Then we watched it get up to, 20, 22, 23 relatively consistently. And then for whatever reason, when we started the show on Monday, within 4 or 5 minutes of going live, we had like 70, 80 viewers. I think we popped 100 at one point on, was it yesterday? I think we popped 100 yesterday at one point. Honestly, we don't know what happened. We don't know what changed, but we're super glad it did. For those of you that are watching on the stream, if you are enjoying the stream, if you've been new and with us the last couple of days and you're having a good time, we sincerely ask, share it around, man. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with the sports fans in your life, specifically those that don't take sports too seriously, because we laugh with, despite the serious nature of the first couple of shows, our first couple of segments the last 2 days, we don't take ourselves too seriously, as is remarkably evident. Oh, you're backwards. No, nobody likes that. It's weird. Nobody likes it. You're inside of my 6 feet. You're not social distancing, Lonzo.
I don't care. Ask management to send me home. Steven, I believe you're right. The patterns would
stop. Every time you bring that up,
oh no.
It just tanks.
It will happen around 11:15 if it's consistent with the last couple of days. And it could be just like all those people went to work at once. There's like a bunch of West Coast people and suddenly they got to go to work. They're getting up early in California, in Washington, in Arizona, checking it out, and then they got to go to work. That could be it. Did you see the trailer that I sent you?
I did. It's
creepy.
I like it.
Yeah, it's creepy. That's exactly what we're heading towards. Thanks, Trey and Rob.
So let's finish up this Ron Rivera discussion. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but here's the second segment on it. Here's the issue that I have, right? I played you the clip that was played on all the media yesterday, right? Hey, Ron, watch your team back. Quarterback. Then I played you the back half of that nearly 1 minute long discussion. And Ron handles his press conferences in an interesting way, right? Ron lets a reporter have a question, but then he's like, he almost has a discussion, right? It's like less Q&A and more discussion. It's like ask him this question, and then he's like, okay, here's this, and this. What do you think about that? All right, good response. Here's this, and this. What do you think about that? And that's basically what it is. He said quarterback, and then he kind of expounded on that. And the guy asked him a question, well, what about Dallas? What about Cooper Rush? And again, like I said, I think the reporter had a great point. But then I played you the rest of the clip, and you can see how it's different than the clip that hosts around the country decided to play and run with yesterday. But here's the second thing. Lonzo and a handful of other folks I've heard said yesterday he shouldn't apologize, right? He shouldn't apologize for that.
The other people it said yes. I said today.
Right.
But yeah.
Why?
Here's
go ahead,
just real quick, because you did. He did say my name.
I sure did.
If he apologized right after, I believe the sincerity. The fact that he waited till the next day after there is an onslaught of media reaction to it, to me, it makes it disingenuous. So if you say it right afterwards and go, you know what, guys, I shouldn't throw my quarterback under the bus like that. It's not his problem. It's all of us, the reason why we're losing. The typical coaching answer. If he would have went back and apologized right after he did it, that's different. But he waited an entire day after it blew up and then felt like he had to do it then. That's why it bothers me.
Well, I mean,
saying I'm sorry, I say I'm sorry all the time to you and to other people, and I need to, especially with some things I say. I have to say I'm sorry. And the same thing with him. He's smart enough. He's been in the business long enough. After you say something like that, you've got to realize, even if you're having a bad day, the consequences of what you're saying and the fact that it can be taken out of context as it was, and you just apologize right then. You know what? I'm sorry. Shouldn't have thrown Carson under the bus. I did bring him here. He's working towards what our vision of this team is. And sorry about that. I shouldn't have said that. Instead, you wait for an entire day after everything else, and that makes it not seem genuine.
So here's why I come down on that. The lady friend has said to me many times, you know, Rob, for somebody who works in communications, sometimes you're really bad at it, right? Because I am. Ron Rivera said something that he ever done this on. So he said something in his head that made perfect sense, right?
You're asking me that question?
Right, exactly. Ron Rivera said something in his head that made perfect sense, right? To him, he answered the question thoroughly and appropriately. And it takes time for a reaction to develop. It took time for that clip to get out, right? Those reporters, you know, there may have been a few that were streaming the press conference live and maybe somebody picked it up. But again, if you were watching it live, you didn't just hear Ron say quarterback. You then heard him start talking about the quarterback position and how you have to build around the quarterback and how you have to build for the quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. If you're watching it live, that clip probably didn't jump out at you, but after you've watched it a couple of times, maybe it does. And then it takes some time for that clip to make it to Jim Rome, to make it to DA, to make it to Mark Ryan, to make it to Rob Brown, to make it to the host of the world who take every soundbite and go, what's the best way for me to get entertainment value out of this clip, right? And for the record, I'm guilty of it too. Every host is. Our job is to entertain you guys, right? If we weren't here to entertain, if we were here to tell you just what Rob Rivera said, we wouldn't be analysts, we'd be reporters. We are here to entertain. And so I think all of us I got a folder full of clips on my Google Drive right now that is just called GOAT Clips. You know what's in there? It's Garrett Cole.
Okay, I was going to say, tell me it's not full of Tom Brady stuff.
No, actually, I don't think there's any Tom Brady in there yet.
See, that proves that
Tom Brady.
that you don't think Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Sure does. In that is Garrett Cole last year when the sticky stuff got banned and Garrett Cole got asked to his face at a press conference, hey, Garrett, have you doctored the baseball? And Garrett went, I don't know how to answer that. It's my favorite press conference answer of freaking all time, right? I said those clips because those clips can be used to entertain you guys. And that's my job. At the end of the day, my job is to entertain you. Why do hot take artists get more clicks than the rest of us? Because y'all find it entertaining. End of discussion, right? So that clip got out, and some people who have a really good eye for this stuff saw it and went, ooh, sounds like Ron just threw Carson Wentz under the bus. And they ran with it, right? And they ran with it. So what I'm saying here is that it took time for Ron's comments to go from legitimate answer and discussion with a media member covering the Washington Commanders, to being turned into an entertainment clip that was skewed in a way to make it sound like he had run over Carson Wentz with the bus and then backed it up and ran him over again. And so after that got around, it took a few hours for Ron Rivera's comment to get turned from genuine press conference answer into LOL, Ron just murdered Carson Wentz. Ha 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 ha. And that's what he apologized for, right? Like, I don't think Ron Rivera was apologizing for what he said. Because what he said, while wrong, ain't bad. I think Ron Rivera was apologizing for the fact that the way that he phrased it, and again, I think he needs to know better, but the way that he phrased it, he allowed it to be turned into a clip that made it sound as if Carson Wentz got thrown under the bus, and Ron did exactly what he should have. He went to Carson Wentz first and said, look, dude, my bad. I don't mean you suck. It got twisted. It sounds like I threw you under the bus. I promise you I didn't. Then he called a team meeting, and he said, look, here's what this clip is going around. Not what I meant, but it sounds terrible. That's on us. And then after that, he put it out in the media. That's not what I meant. I think he handled it beautifully, right? Why did he apologize? Because he made it seem by mishandling a soundbite like he was throwing Carson Wentz under the bus. He was not. But it came across that way, and he wanted to own that. Honestly, I don't think Ron Rivera did anything wrong. I think he needs to think about how he's going to answer questions in the future. You know what if you're ever going to run in politics, you know what the biggest skill, you know what the best skill you can have in politics is? The ability to answer a question without it turning into a soundbite. I get asked all the time, why do you talk so fast, right? You're in the South, man. Why do you talk so fast? You want to know why I talk so fast? Part of the reason why I talk so fast is because if you talk fast, you can't get interrupted. And if you can't get interrupted, people can't jump in and try to twist the context of what you're saying. If you wanted to pull sound clips out of this show to make it sound like I said something that I definitely did not say, you could do it. But if I don't give you a pause between the sentences, you can't just jump in and go, what he actually means is. Politicians do that to each other all the damn time. That's why I hate watching political debates, because they're not debates anymore. They're shouting matches, right? Debates would be, how do you feel about premise A? Well, under my platform, action A. Well, I disagree with my opponent on premise A. Under my platform, action B. But instead of, oh, no, he hates puppies. Oh, yeah, well, she hates kittens. Like, what are we doing here? And I think Ron knows that's what happened to him, and he tried to get out front and own it. I got no problem with that. No problem with that at all. James says at some point, Carson Wentz is still going to trip and fall under the bus path anyway. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here arguing that Carson Wentz is a great quarterback. He's not.
Have you seen the record? He's already laying in that path.
Yeah, he's not. Don't get me wrong. Carson Wentz is absolutely a part of the reason that the Commanders are bad. Big part of it. But the way that Ron's quote was twisted up and changed around, is I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair, personally. Maybe it's just me. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we got a lot of stuff we need to get into. All of the home teams yesterday won, except the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves were the only favorite yesterday that did not win their opening A or NLCS, game. Jeff popped into the Facebook chat, said Atlanta fans didn't believe me when I said 2 months ago to not worry about the Mets, but the Phillies. Yep, I said it yesterday. Win that game or you will no longer be the favorite, in my opinion, in the NLDS. So how about all for the Braves after taking an opening frame L? We'll break that down and more. All coming up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Took me a really long time, but I managed to upgrade my spear for the second time last night.
So did I.
You've already, I should have
All I've been
concentrated
doing
on
is
that.
anytime a mercenary gets unveiled, I immediately track him down.
You mean cultists?
Cultists, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I got to the point where I didn't have any more clues. I mean, I had clues, but I hadn't followed up on them.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this guy has to be here.
Yeah.
Although one guy is not where he was supposed to be in a quarry. He's just not there. And I'm worried that I killed him earlier and that I can't get him anymore. But there was a guy on a boat and I can't find him either. But then I found
that guy. It's a naval battle.
No, I did it.
That guy.
I did it. He fell into the water. And then it went to a cutscene because it was a naval battle for me for a main quest. So I couldn't go back for him. By the time I did, he wasn't in the water anymore. So I spent time out there just sailing around, seeing if he would pop back up, and I couldn't find him. Then I found one that I had revealed, but you had to side with the Athenians against the Spartans, and the dude would show up. The cultist would show up. So I did that. So you had to fight a cultist in the middle of a huge battle while the other guys are trying to kill you too. And then I upgraded a spear, and it's like, yeah, it's time to go to bed.
I'm getting ticked because I've got like a 4 helmet bounty on me right now, and I keep trying to go.
Bounty.
No, it's like 700 coins. I'm trying to upgrade my boat.
Okay, well, I've been getting up to like 20,000 coins. So
I've just
do missions. You do those side missions, you get money for that.
I've just been going, and whenever I get a bounty, just killing the guy who put the bounty on me. Except for yesterday, I went to go kill him, and when I was like on the other side of the map and I fast traveled there, and I went to the fort that he was in, and then there's 2 mercenaries chasing me, and now they're both in the fort with that guy.
If you're in the fort and you pay the money, they just leave.
I don't want to pay the money. It's my money.
I usually like to just take them on, but if I get double and it's a mission and I'm trying to do it and I have the money, I'll go ahead and pay it because they will leave. And they leave, and you can get them later.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got tracked down in Athens by one, and I saw him coming at me. And I waited because there were a bunch of soldiers around. I waited till he attacked me. I'm like, let him get the first hit in, and that way the guards around him won't come after me. Oh no. As soon as you swing, they come after you too. So I had me versus him with like 4 guards trying to get both of us.
The guards will fight mercenaries. So.
Oh, I know. That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Was bait him into hitting me so the guards would fight him, and they didn't. They fought both of us.
I
didn't do it.
You got to do the run behind the guard and have the mercenary accidentally hit the guard, and then the guards will go after that. I'm going to have to go get better armor, though, because I waited too long to upgrade my armor. I went up like 3 or 4 levels, and that cost way too much. And the set items are a lie. If you look at the bottom, if you have an entire set, it supposedly does something. I have the entire set of the Immortal, which means when I die, I'm supposed to come back at 100%. It doesn't work.
I've not gotten a set outside of the ones that you start with.
I have several sets. I've also been all over the place.
I also, as soon as I level up, I just move to the next size armor and sell everything else.
Well, the gold armor you can't sell.
Yeah.
So I have a ton of gold armor. I don't have
a ton. I have like.
I think I have 2 entire sets, maybe more than that. I'm also level 46 now. So, I've been playing it for like.
James says Rob Brown's a dog hater. I am not. Stop it.
No, he was going after the kittens. So
I love dogs. I like dogs more than people.
I even went to the Ubisoft whatever thing because you can chart your progression. That's the only way you can find out how far you are in the game. And I was only at 58%. It's like, okay, I'll do another main quest because I didn't want to get to that point where you go, finish everything up now. Like, There's too much map left for me to do that. No. Have you been to the arena yet?
Q says, I'm busy with what game? Assassin's Creed
Odyssey,
which is
on Game Pass.
really good. The Astros win at home. The Yankees win at home. The Dodgers win at home. The Braves don't. They lose 7-6 yesterday to the Philadelphia Phillies in the opening game of the National League Divisional Series, and that one stung. That one stung a little bit. You know, I said you don't want to give up the opportunity that you have. The interesting thing about the teams that played at home yesterday, right? The Astros, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Braves. In opening their postseason in the NLDS and not the wild card round, they were able to come in on about 6 days rest and have their number one pitcher in the rotation go. The other four teams that played yesterday, including the Philadelphia Phillies, most of them had to go to their number 3 pitcher. Ranger Suarez yesterday. Ranger Suarez went for the Phillies. In the regular season, if you told me we were going to get a matchup of Max Fried versus Ranger Suarez, I would have thought to myself, we going to be just fine, yeah? We're going to be just fine. Suarez went 3.1 innings, gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, 5 walks, 5 Ks. Max, on the other hand, 3.1 innings, 8 hits surrendered, 6 runs allowed, 4 of them earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Now, 2 of those runs came after Fried had left the game when they went to Jesse Chavez, and Chavez inherited a pair of runners, so they were charged to Max Fried, but there were a couple of other things that went on there. There was a point where the Bravos had the bases loaded. There was a ball called a strike that would have created I believe, a 3-0 count, changed the way that matchup was going. I think Michael Harris Jr. was at the plate, if I recall, or maybe it was William Contreras. One of them was at the dish. You had another spot where the Braves, well, first off, the Braves left. How many stranded runners did they leave? Like a lot. The Braves had 9 runners stranded throughout that game. 9 runs available that you did not bring in. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Now, the Braves decided to make it interesting, right? They decided to make it, it was 6-1. Then it was 7-1 in the top of the 5th. The Braves got 2 back in the 5th. They got 3 back in the 9th when Matt Olson's bat decided to send a ball into low Earth orbit. They got 3 back in the bottom of the 9th. They made it a 1-run game, and then they just couldn't get it done. Nick Castellanos was a hero for the Phillies yesterday. Went 3 for 5, had a run, but more importantly, was able to track down in the bottom of the 9th a fly ball into shallow right field that with like 90% of right fielders would have hit the grass. And if that ball hits the grass, the Braves now have a runner on third with 1 out instead of a runner on second with 2 outs. Changed the complexion to the bottom of the 9th inning. Nick Castellanos was a hero yesterday. The Phillies had 7 hits. Sorry, scratch that. 12 hits, 7 runs on 12 hits. The Braves had 9. They got on base. They also were issued 7 free passes. Only 2 Phillies walked in this game. But in the 3.1 innings pitched that Max Fried threw before he had to clock out for the day on 61 pitches, He whiffed the Phillies on 61 pitches. He whiffed the Phillies 12 times. 12 swinging missed strikes. 12. Now, Max Fried wasn't exactly a Cy Young postseason candidate last year either. It is not panic time for Atlanta, but you better not lose today, right? It is NL only today. Braves Phillies at 4 o'clock today. If the Braves, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and this is not exactly going out on the thinnest of limbs in a 5-game series. If the Braves lose today, you can go ahead and delete your back-to-back world champion t-shirt designs, right? To give the Phillies a spot where they only got to win one and they get 2 cracks at it back in Philadelphia. Don't love that. Don't love that. That game yesterday was just obnoxious. It's just bad. Fried was bad, which again, he's been bad in the postseason before, but you've been able to cover it up. Couldn't cover it up yesterday. There was also a spot where Max Fried made a fielding error, and it directly led to 2 runs. If you get the incorrect strike, that was a ball call. If Fried doesn't have that error, or if Castellanos doesn't make that redonkulous diving catch out in right field, any of those 3 things go the opposite direction. The Braves probably are up 1-0 and set to play number 2 in Truist today. But all 3 went the opposite direction. Let's be real. Yesterday was a stroke of bad luck for Atlanta. They're the better team, but the Phillies are the hotter team right now. And how many times have we said, sometimes in the playoffs, it's not about who's the better team, it's about who's the hotter team. And right now, the hotter team is Philly. Can the Braves fix it today? We'll preview that game later on in the show. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. Rob Alonso and you. This is the Fan Upstate. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Tony Baselli. I thought Tony Baselli died. Oh, no, I'm thinking Siragusa. That's a different person.
Yeah, they're really different people.
I was like, what?
I'm pretty sure Baselli was offense and Siragusa was
That
defense.
is correct.
Yeah.
I'm going to know who they are. I just thought one of them was dead, and that was...
And Baselli was always in better shape than Siragusa.
Correct.
I
And also,
don't remember what Siragusa died
Siragusa
from.
was a jerk.
I've heard that. I think you told me that. So
I think Mark Ryan has the same take, too.
This is one of you guys. I knew.
We both met him. He's a jackass, or was a jackass.
It was. So speaking ill of the dead.
Tell him call me if he's got a problem with it. You know what the best way to stop?
If he does call you, it will change your entire philosophy of life.
You know what this is a philosophy I've got in life. You know what the best way to get people not to call you a jackass is?
To not be one?
To don't be a jackass.
Okay.
And it's never struck me as something that is really that difficult to do, to not be a jerk.
I don't know. There are situations. Sometimes the only way to survive another jerk is to be a jerk yourself.
I don't disagree. Sometimes the proper response to somebody being a jerk is to be a jerk back, but sometimes it's not.
You know, I don't mind being called a jerk when I'm being a jerk. I don't like being called a jerk when I'm not being a jerk, though. And most of those guys who are that way, and can a female be a jerk?
Yes.
I think it's more of a masculine
Anybody
thing.
can be a jerk.
I think it's more of a guy thing. I've never heard of a girl being called a jerk
No,
before.
because they get called the B word.
Okay.
That's just a female jerk.
That's
why,
what that is. Okay.
That's why I don't love that word. Like, why can't we be gender inclusive? Anybody can be a butthole.
That's true because everyone has those.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are some insults that are are gender exclusive and should remain that way. I think jerk is one of them.
Jerk's fine. Both B words are gender restrictive, not limited. See, this is the conversation the woke media doesn't want you to have, ladies and gentlemen.
One of them has to do with, being born out of wedlock, though. So, and that's not your fault. You had nothing to do with that.
You know nothing, Jon Snow. I got a hot Tim Tebow take today. Do we want it? It's been a little while since we've done a hot Tebow take. Oh, this is that time Lonzo said that I worship Satan on the.
Yeah, quit walking over one of my favorite moments ever in the show. I just like hearing it.
That particular segment has generated a lot of text and phone calls.
It's also very organic and hard to recreate.
Correct.
So, there's that.
I have only once, by the way, since that happened, only once been asked to my face if I really actually worship Satan. So that was.
There have been texts though. But that's not to your face.
I get the text every day.
That's not to your face.
The text happens every day. Usually from people I know. With friends like these, who needs anemones?
Wow, I wish I could spell that. Oh, man, why can't he have a guest host tomorrow?
Who? Rome?
No.
Oh.
Why does that have to be today? Why can't that be tomorrow? I'm worried that I am going to be. I'm not worried. I know I'm going to be ambushed big time for 4 hours tomorrow. Question is, do I go with it or do I just go?
Hey man, my throat's a little sore.
Or do I just go, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm moving on to the Rob Brown show tomorrow. Concentrating on that. I just push buttons. Co-host's not my job description.
Yes, it is.
No, actually it's not. But still. I have no job description. Which is worse than having a job description. Because if you have no job description, then you pretty much have to do everything. I'm not complaining. I love my job. That's why I'm here.
Sure doesn't sound like Alonzo.
Sure it does. I started to say something that would have been taken the wrong way, and I stopped myself.
You almost got Ron Rivera.
It's called restraint. It's called tact.
Yeah, Ron, try it. I said during the break, if you're not watching the Facebook stream, you should join us at facebook.com/TheFanUpstate.
Or YouTube, or Twitch, or Twitter.
Just wherever.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter where. If you're not watching the stream.
Or if you're like across the street, you could have binoculars and just watch in the window.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all. Not in the least.
Visibility should be pretty good with it, no sun glare out there.
It's a beautiful day outside,
yeah.
For the record. It is a beautiful day outside. If you were not watching the stream, you should be. And you can do so at facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, twitter.com/TheFanUpstate. You can search and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show on the YouTube or on Twitch. Search and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show. Come in and watch the stream with us. Our number, for whatever reason, has gone bananas. BANANAS. Thanks, Gwen. So far this week.
I love the Rob Brown Show. It is my favorite program.
There's a new movie coming out about a AI robot. It's a horror movie.
It's a robot little girl.
Yeah.
Which makes it creepier.
Yeah. Lonzo sent it to me and he's like, this is the future you want, Rob. You're telling me it wouldn't be cool to have an AI programmed robot in your house that you could be like, hey, robot, make me prime rib for dinner. Programming.
If the
Response.
robot is Rosie from the Jetsons, yes. I mean, I'm okay
For the
with
record,
that.
that's the same thing.
No. But we're
Rosie
never.
is more terrifying because she's got her own independent thoughts.
Which these will eventually. It's called, artificial intelligence. They will all have them. I'm more worried about the I am robot type thing. Robot in every house, and then suddenly things go red. That's never good.
Let me get into something that I find highly entertaining. Dave Tepper did a 25-minute news conference on Monday after he fired Matt Rule. At the end of that press conference, there's a gent by the name of Scott Fowler. Scott has been covering the Panthers for the Charlotte Observer for many, many moons. Scott Fowler asked a question of David Tepper. He said, when did you decide to fire Matt Rule? Was it Sunday night after the game? Was it Monday morning? Which I feel like, Lonzo, is a rather innocuous, if not unimportant question to be asked.
I disagree. I think what he's asking is, okay, what was the last straw, basically? So what happened to make you go, okay, that's it?
And that's fine. I'd be fine with that being the question. But he said, when did you decide? Was it Sunday night or Monday morning? Like, did you have dinner before you did it? I don't know. I guess the answer to that question is unimportant for me. I would 100% be much better off with the question of what was the final straw? Like, why? Now, if he meant, when did you fire Matt, or when did you decide? And he meant it in terms of right after the game was over. Was it because you lost to San Francisco? Was it because you're 1-4? Was it because Matt Rule has lost the plot? Like, what's the reason? That's fine. But then ask that question, right? One of the things you learn very early in journalism school, if you're a nerd like me who does that sort of thing, is when you ask a question to somebody who has a vested interest in doing their best to kind of obfuscate the information.
Hey man, that
I know I'm going SAT words.
That's
too
too
words.
That's too big for this show. Okay, we can have 3-4 syllables every once in a while, but that one, no.
Obfuscate's a great word. If you're talking
Sounds like
to
a
somebody
bodily function for some reason. I don't know why.
who has a vested
I'm sorry.
interest.
I just obfuscated.
You just obfuscated my whole segment.
My
Yeah.
bad.
If you are talking to somebody who has a reason to maybe kind of obfuscate the information, the data, you've got to ask very pointed questions, right? The more wiggle room that you give them, the more they're going to wiggle. That's how it works. But that's not really the point of this. Scott Fowler said, when did you decide to fire him? And David Tepper said to Scott Fowler with a tinge of aggravation in his voice that Fowler should, quote, know better than to ask that question. I don't know why, but that's okay. So then
is this the guy that he said, no, never mind. That was Wilkes that did that.
Yeah.
So this is, you got the same media guys in the room every day or what. So you have like a working relationship with them. So how do you know it wasn't kind of an inside type thing? It's not like a Clemson thing, like you should know better, which means you'll never be back in this room again.
Tepper and Fowler have butted heads many times since he bought the team. All right. This is it's not a very well kept secret that this is a bit of a rivalry here. After that exchange, which was very awkward, Scott Fowler then decided to go ahead and ask the pointed question, What was your reasoning? Was it anything other than the fact that he was 11-27? And Fowler said to Tepper, "You're not being very specific. Is there something I'm missing?" Which I think is fair, right? If you ask a guy a question at a press conference, the point of which is for him to answer questions to the press.
And I'm not taking the owner's side, but or anyone on that podium. After a while, there were multiple questions of people asking the same question. I watched the entire press conference, and it's like, okay, if I ask it this way, it's the same conversation you and I have had on the air before. If I ask it this way, maybe he'll actually answer it. But I thought he was very patient with everybody.
I think he was till the end. It's another tactic, right?
So would you rather he go Ron Rivera?
No.
Okay.
Hang on.
All right.
Because I'm coming to something here, because the point here is a column that Scott Fowler has wrote. I'm just trying to set the context of this column. So there's a tactic in media. There's a tactic for anybody. And to anybody who's worked professional interrogation will tell you this too. There is one thing that you can do is you ask a question. Right? You ask a question you want the answer to. Then you ask another few questions that are kind of slightly related. Then you ask maybe a couple of questions that are totally unrelated. Then you come back and you re-ask the first question, but you phrase it differently. And what you're looking for is not to get a different answer. You're looking to see if they give you different information in their answer. And then you can determine, okay, like clearly they're holding something back here, because the first time they said A and the second time they said A plus B, right? So Tepper, when it was asked, "You're not being very specific, is there something I'm missing?" said to Scott Fowler at the presser, quote, "I actually read your columns and I can go back to your columns and regurgitate them so you can read your own columns, okay? Thanks for that, thanks. You can go read your own columns for that answer." All right, that's what Tep said. Well, Fowler was not super thrilled. And he penned a column that went up on the internet yesterday. The next line after Tep said, "I actually read your columns and I can go back to your columns and regurgitate them so you can read your own columns, okay, for that answer." The next line that Fowler put in his column, Lonzo, was, quote, "Well, thank you for reading and for your Charlotte Observer subscription," end quote, which is a great line.
Oh, it's an excellent line.
So he goes on to talk about Scott Fowler, his interaction with Tepper, his interaction with Panthers fans over the years. He brought up a point in time back in the 90s where he was having a headbutting competition with then quarterback Kerry Collins, and the fans hated him for it and blah, blah, blah. So David Tepper and Scott Fowler have had a tumultuous relationship, to say the least. Fowler wrote this towards the end of his column. It's online. You can find it at Yahoo, or you can go to Charlotte Observer and find it, I'm sure. He said, what the people watching the news conference don't know is that after 4 years of you, Dave Tepper, making news in Charlotte and me writing about it, we've bumped heads several times before. But we've also had enough honest conversations that a bit of teasing and or testiness doesn't matter in the slightest to me. I respect you what you've done in Charlotte and in the business world, and find you to be blunt and charismatic, which is catnip for a sports reporter. So, not that you're offering and not that I'm asking, but I definitely don't need an apology. What I do need and want, though, and what this city needs and wants, is for you to become a better owner, end quote. Not a great look. Scott Fowler is the guy who covers the Panthers in Charlotte, right? David Newton covers them for ESPN. I'm not a big fan of David Newton personally. David Newton the other day, in the midst of the Matt Rule news, wrote an entire tweet out where he talked about Carolina Panthers owner Dave Gettleman. You may not know this. Alonzo does, because he hosts the Views from Mint Street podcast. Dave Gettleman does not own the Carolina Panthers. He is with the New York Giants. Dave Tepper owns. Now, maybe that's just a little mistake.
Sounds like he did that on purpose because of how Gettleman ran things.
There are a lot of people who follow Dave Newton who think that he does this. He likes to troll the Panthers fans, right? He likes to troll Cat Country. Anyway, but Fowler is the guy who covers the Panthers in Charlotte. And dude went off on this column. Basically, the tagline that he put on this after he wrote, it's a long article too. He calls him out because David Tepper said, and I quote, "There never was music in Charlotte," end quote. He takes credit for just bringing music to Charlotte. He just brought music to Charlotte. Charlotte was like Footloose, but worse before Dave Tepper got there. Then he brought music. He said some silly stuff. But again, he's a billionaire, right? He doesn't have conversation with dude on the street. He doesn't know how to communicate with us. And this he was representing himself. He had to do the liaison. It was very, very interesting how he finished this artillery shell of a column, Scott Fowler. He said, quote, "I've covered the Panthers since their inception in 1995 and now watched 5 different head coaches get fired. Those days are always stressful, but then comes a brief honeymoon period built on renewed hope that maybe things will now change for the better. Make the most of that period. Don't worry about me. I'm not going anywhere. Just fix the team. And don't ask for any public money until you do it." End quote. My man, my guy, Scott. Scott Fowler's a guy I've read a lot. I've had him on the show in the past. I've reached out a few times recently. He has not responded, and I get it. Obviously, there is a bit to talk about, a bit to cover over there in Charlotte. I like Scott Fowler. I've never religiously followed his stuff. I liked him. I might now. That was a heck of a walk-off line. Don't worry about me. I'm not going anywhere. Just fix the team and don't ask for any public money until you do.
So I'm a little confused. Is this guy a reporter or is this guy like us? Is this guy an entertainer? Because you were talking about earlier. So
he is. I would say he's half beat writer, half columnist.
Okay, so this is from someone I don't read much because I just don't. What's the difference between so a columnist is someone who can editorialize?
We are audio columnists. Ian Rappaport is a reporter, right? There are guys who break the news, and then there are guys who talk about the news.
So people read Fowler for his opinion, not for actual news.
Both. You can report the news and then also have an opinion on it, right? Ed Werder did that with the Dallas Cowboys for ESPN for many, many years. He reported what was going on in the Big D, and I do mean Dallas, but then also he would kind of break it down from his perspective and post it on the internet, and people would go see what Ed had to say about the news that he had broken earlier in the day. So
when Fowler is reporting or whatever he does, can you tell the difference between the reporting and the opinion? Does he say, okay, these are the facts and this is my opinion?
I don't know that he specifically says that, but I think if you have some ability to read context, then yes, it's pretty evident when he's being an entertainer versus when he's breaking news.
This is why I prefer the audio medium.
Because there's less.
Because you can tell when someone's being sarcastic. You can tell, like you've mentioned many times, we're not reporters, we're not journalists.
Correct.
Even though you went to journalism school, we are not that. We are on the airways to give our opinions. Our columnists, are they in the paper or online to give their opinions? I'm legitimately asking you this because I never really cared before.
Right.
But I'm curious for other people who may have that, question.
I don't view newspaper as any different than radio. There's room for both, and you can do it.
I do, but maybe it's because I'm older. But to me, the newspaper, just like the news, should not be opinion. It should be the news.
There's always been columns. right? There's always been editorial columns, always. I would put it this way. I am in this role. I am an entertainer, right? If you talk to me in public, I will tell you I am an entertainer. I talk sports, but I am an entertainer at my core for this job. But when I get sent up to Charlotte to cover ACC Media Days, when I go to Columbia or Clemson with a press pass to cover those games, in that case, I am a journalist. I am a reporter. Now, I can sprinkle editorial thoughts on that, right? Like I can go, for instance, I can do it in one tweet. It is halftime. Clemson leads 27-10. Will Shipley has 103 rushing yards through the first half. DJ has 212 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. That's reporting. Followed up with, in the second half, I would really like to see Shipley do this because I think if they move him to the slot receiver position, it will force linebackers to play a more horizontal style defense, which will allow DJ to be able to run for more on his own and widen the field a little bit. Now I have in one tweet both reported the news and editorialized.
All right. So if I was just a person who just wanted to find the news and was going to a place like the Observer, where would I go?
Read the box score.
So that's the only way. So there's no way to
I guess
to get it reported without opinion.
Respectfully ask you here, in regards to the conversation we were having at Scott Fowler, what are you driving at? Like, what's the drive here? Is it a problem with Fowler and what he's saying in this column?
If he's there to report on the team, it's gotten personal. And if it's personal, then it's no longer him reporting on the team. It's just beef versus beef.
So are you saying this in a way like you don't believe you can trust him at this point because he's got personal beef with Tepper?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, that's fair.
When it becomes personal, then feelings get in the way, and then you're reporting. I can't trust your reporting because, and we all have emotions. I get that. But if you bring it out like this, then suddenly it's like, okay, if I want everything negative about the team, here's the guy to go to because he's got a problem with the owner. So he's going to find every little problem that there is, even though, I mean, you can pretty much see it by watching the game.
I don't need Scott's help.
Right.
I got a TV at home. I'm just going to name my TV Scott Fowler now.
When it becomes more about you as a person and not you doing your job, which is to report on the team, I have a problem with that.
I don't, and here's why. Like I said, I kind of feel it's the same way. So
Spurrier had this problem with a couple guys.
Yeah, but Spurrier's an egomaniac too, right? Tepper's an egomaniac. Spurrier's an egomaniac. A lot of the guys at this level, to some degree, to some degree, I'm an egomaniac. So are you.
Right. And there are some people in radio. You said, "Oh, I'm not." You have to have a certain kind of ego to think, okay, I'm going to talk on this microphone, and there are a bunch of people who want to hear what I have to say.
The premise of the job that Lonzo and I do, right? The premise of the job that Lonzo and I do every day. At 9:00 a.m., Lonzo pushes that little button in front of him to his left that makes the button go from yellow to red. And when he goes red, this turns on. And you know what I have to believe? I have to believe, and I think I've demonstrated to some degree, that around the upstate of South Carolina, around the world, streaming online and on the stream itself, that there are thousands of people who make up at least a part of their day around the plan of, I would like to hear Rob Brown entertain me for a little while, right? And I have to believe I'm entertaining enough to do it. There is a level of ego that comes with that. And so Tepper's got it. Spurrier's got it. We all got an ego, especially in this business. I'm not saying that Scott Fowler doesn't. I will say this. Scott Fowler, Lonzo, has been covering the same team for 27 years. He has been there since 1990. He has been covering the Panthers since Rob Brown was in freaking elementary school.
Is it a problem if he's now covering them from afar?
He's not. He's in Charlotte.
No, you're missing the point. If because of these exchanges and the things that he's saying, if he's no longer welcome in the building.
Fowler is in a unique position. There's a unique position for Scott Fowler in that he's been covering the team for so long that if Tepper revokes his access, Scott Fowler's got such an audience amongst Panther fans that he just puts out one tweet. David Tepper has revoked my access to cover the Carolina Panthers, and Tepper now looks like a jackass.
I don't think Tepper cares. And
I don't either.
This is the case.
Billionaires don't give a damn what you think about him.
This is a case of the ego thing we're talking about. Right. So if he gets banned because of something he says, he's not going to look at himself and go, maybe I went too far on something that's part of my job.
Here's the thing. Did he go too far here, though? The team's bad. Tepper has done not much to fix it. His decisions have been bad. And in the process of all of this, he is hunting down public money to build a new stadium. I think Fowler's got a great point. I have, Lonzo, no problem. It's the same way for my team. I got no problem in investing in my team and investing in my team in the city as long as the team is giving me a desire to invest. Right? The fact that you can buy a PSL to the Panthers right now for $13 freaking on the internet, get those tickets and then sell them to a away team is because they're putting out a bad product right now. And David Tepper is, in the eyes of a lot of Panthers fans, the reason why. And frankly, you'd have to have a hell of an argument to convince me that he's not the reason.
Okay. All that aside, we pretty much know all that. But if you were the owner and this guy who's in the report, supposedly reporting, does all this kind of stuff, you allow him to keep coming back? Because he might send a tweet and fans might be upset with you that are already upset with you. It's not going to cost you any money because people are already not coming. Either you're a reporter or you're not.
No, that's not true.
Am
I not both?
You haven't been hired as a reporter. You're hired as a talk show host.
Correct.
We're talking about a newspaper guy.
Correct.
We're talking about a newspaper guy who puts out an article not on the editorial page, but on the sports page.
No, this column is an editorial, and it's listed as such, right?
You never said that it was in the editorial. If it's in the editorial, that's different.
No, I called it a column. A column is an editorial.
Columns and editorials are not. You don't go, that's a column, so that's an editorial, do you?
In my experience, the popular lingo around a newspaper room is a column is an editorial. A column is an editorial. Either way, it doesn't matter because Scott Fowler's right. Scott Fowler's absolutely correct. Charlotte's going to have no problem investing in the Carolina Panthers. Only a few cities have ever said, no, we're not doing that. Charlotte's not going to have a problem investing in the Panthers if the Panthers are worth investing in. You know what it looks like right now? It looks like you are taking the Charlotte money that's invested into the Panthers, pocketing it into your multi-billionaire portfolio, and then going, enjoy this steaming pile, you peons. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
QC.
We're back stream. Hang out. Don't go anywhere. All right, dudes and dudettes, we are back. You're so I guess maybe Hunter Heel says, Rob, you're wrong. There's news and talk shows, facts and opinions. That's the difference. News should not be opinionated, period. You're missing what I'm saying here. You can serve in both capacities, right? When you send me to ACC Media Days and I sit in the press conference and Dabo Swinney gets on the podium and says, we're going to be doing this and we're switching from this defense to this defense and we expect this guy to play the defense. The news side is when I tell you, here's what Dabo said. Dabo said they are switching to this defense. Dabo said this guy's going to get more playtime in that role. Dabo said this, Dabo said that. That's the news. That's the reporting. That's not opinionated. I'm quoting him, pardon me, and I'm telling you what he said. Opinion is the follow-up when I say, I don't like that they're switching to this defense, and I think it's going to fail because blank, 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 and blank. You want unbiased reporting, and when you're in J school, they're going to tell you outright, when you are serving in the capacity as a reporter, you are to be unbiased. Here are the facts, right? These are the facts. But to say that people who report the facts should not have opinions, that's impossible. We're human beings. And the more you report on a thing, it becomes inevitable that right? If you send me down to an antique store to report about something that like some crazy antique that they found.
You don't have to send Rob to go antiquing. I mean, you don't, because he would.
I do like antique. Yeah, I will go antique. All right, I'm trying to pick something I don't care about. If you send me down to report on the health benefits of Zumba, right? I don't know where that came from.
I don't even. What the heck is Zumba?
I will go report. I will go interview people who have taken Zumba classes. I will go interview a Zumba instructor. I will find out if there are any people who are opposed to Zumba and believe that it does not provide health benefits. I will get evidence, information, and opinions from those people, and then I will lay those facts and that evidence out. I don't have an opinion on Zumba, but
Zumba just looks like jazzercise.
It kind of is.
Okay.
It's like jazzercise, but more like rock and rolly.
Okay.
If you have me report on Zumba for 5 years, eventually I'm going to have some opinions on Zumba that are formed by the evidence and the information that I find out. I should still report the Zumba news or the zoos to you moving forward without opinion, but I will be more qualified to offer an opinion after I report on it for a while.
I apologize, Luke. I'll just shut up.
And stop being dramatic, Courtney. And there is a difference. There's a difference between reporting and opining. In fact, I'm gonna bring this up.
Warehouse, next break.
Okay. All right. Let me do a real quick segment here, because we just got a comment from Hunter Heels on our stream, which you can watch by going to facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, or searching and subscribing to The Rob Brown Show on YouTube and on Twitch. Hunter Heels says, Rob, there's a lot of B's on the end of it. Rob, you're wrong. There's news and talk shows, facts and opinions. That's the difference. News should not be opinionated, period. I am not disagreeing with you. Let me clarify what I was saying. And I am talking from a sports perspective here, obviously, because we can't all cover our team, right? We need reporters to cover our team. And then we want to be entertained by people who break down that news, give analysis and opinions on that news. What I am saying is a guy like Scott Fowler, hell, a guy like Rob Brown, we can and do both, right? We can do both, and we do do both. When I go to ACC Media Days, for instance, I will give you a true to life, real life example. You ready? Here's my true to life, real life example. When Rob Brown moved to the upstate of South Carolina, Rob Brown Brown did not have any deep connection to the Clemson Tigers.
When Rob Brown moved to South Carolina, Rob Brown did not.
I'm just going to talk about myself in third person all segment.
I'm trying to not make light of the situation, but I just want you to know that you just did that.
I know. I'm doing it intentionally. When Rob Brown moved to South Carolina, Rob Brown did not have any deep connection to the Clemson Tigers or the South Carolina Gamecocks, right? I had reported on them in the past when I was like living down in Florida and I was writing for the Northwest Florida Daily News and I was covering Florida and Florida State football. If Florida played South Carolina when Florida State played Clemson, I would write up and I'd go, here are the facts about these teams, right? Clemson has averaged this many yards per game. They're scoring this many points per game. Their quarterback so-and-so has accomplished this, that, and the other. Their best player on defense is this guy, et cetera, et cetera. That's reporting. When I moved here, though I did not have a deep connection with Clemson, it became my job to editorialize, to analyze, to give opinions on that, right? And I do that. Here's what happened in the game against Boston College, and here's what right, and here's what wrong, and here's what needs to get cleaned up before they play Florida State on Saturday, et cetera, et cetera. However, if I go to Clemson and I cover a game in person, and I go into the press conference afterwards, and Dabo gets up there after the BC game, and he says, well, you know, offensively, I think we had some misfires and we need to clean up X, Y, and Z. And on defense, we got this, that, and the other. I can report that to you, right? I can write up a newspaper article that says, here are the things that Dabo said. Then, the very next day, I show up, I crack the mic, and I go, here are the things that I reported Dabo said. And now, because I've been around this team for coming up on 3 years, because I've been around this team for coming up on covering this team for coming up on 3 years, I have a lot more juice to make into opinion. You can do both. Scott Fowler's done both. But the whole point of that discussion, where that was circling around to, was that Scott Fowler's take on Tep as an opinion, I think is good. I think it's good. Yes, I agree with Scott Fowler that David Tepper asking Charlotte for money to improve his franchise's footing when the franchise itself has not improved since he took over the team is bad. I agree with him. Fowler can absolutely report what is being said by David Tepper and then turn around and give an opinion on how he feels about it. And that's all he did. That's all he did. Frankly, I really just liked the entertainment angle of it. I liked Fowler's take. I thought it was well composed. I thought he had a great point. I thought he ended it with a walk-off. And I will be curious to hear if David Tepper has any more thoughts in response to it. I like the entertainment angle of it because the team is bad. We've established that. There is drama around it. We've established that. And while we all claim to hate drama, we are certainly all entertained by it. We just are. It's human nature. We are emotional beings. Drama evokes emotion. We like emotion. We feed on emotion. All of us do it. So it's entertaining because there is a lot of emotion. Because Tep's put together a bad team. He's made a handful of bad decisions. He has now fired, 3 coaches in season within the last few years. Because keep in mind, about 2 months into the MLS season, he fired his first ever manager of Charlotte FC in the middle of Charlotte season. Now that one worked out because it turns out Charlotte's a pretty good little football team right now. And I'm really excited about that for the record. Turns out that may have been the right call. As Charlotte FC in the West right now, in the East right now is currently, where are they on the table? 9th? It's not a bad team for a first-year team. So Tep's put together a bad team, and I don't think there's anything wrong with people wanting to get into his face and ask him why and how are you going to fix it, right? You're profiting off of it. We're giving you money for it in the form of tickets, in the form of eyeballs on television, in the terms of merch. We're giving you the revenue, but it's kind of got to feel a snake oil salesman. Like you seem content to let the team just flounder around a little bit and make the money off of it. Why? And I think it's fair to ask him that question. All right. 844-326-3663. That's 844-FAN phone. You can also hit us up on the text line, 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN. We'll read them on the air. Tweet us at The Rob Brown Show at Lonzo and Word. Jesse popped into the stream and said it was clear that the Panthers don't care about getting better when they drafted J.C. Horn instead of taking Justin Fields when they needed a quarterback. I, for the record, don't have a problem with you having that opinion. Now, J.C. Horn, Lonzo, pretty freaking good.
Yeah. Injury aside, people don't throw his way. So, but I also would have been happy with Justin Fields too.
Ready for a wild stat? J.C. Horn has allowed 0 yards receiving in half of his games. Half of his games, he allows 0 yards. Do you understand how insane that is? That is freaking nuts.
Yeah, I hope that continues.
That is insanity. That's how good that guy is. But it is a quarterback-driven league, right, Ron Rivera? It is a league all about your QB, and they definitely needed one. They knew Darnold wasn't the guy. Or Baker or Cam or PJ or whatever.
There hasn't been a quarterback, a good quarterback in the Panthers organization.
Since good Cam.
Since good Cam.
Since
yes.
good Cam.
And that was a while ago.
Since pre-hat and suit Cam. I agree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll put a cap on this hour of the show. My name is Rob Brown. The great Lonzo is at the helm. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to the Fan Upstate.
Warehouse. funny, Steven. That's what I just told Rob. It's like, yeah, the bots are gone.
Mike Rotunda, aka IRS,
I know who Mike Rotunda is.
has tweeted out, "Great to see my son back in WWE, but nobody is safe come April. Better have those taxes in order, Bray. Hashtag pay up." I want a return of IRS. I want IRS to be the guy that unseats Bray Wyatt.
I don't know. Have you seen him lately? I mean, he's old now. So, I mean,
We're all old now.
we are not all old.
You're old. I'm old. That's all that is in this room.
I got to be honest. Even I joke about being old. I don't feel old. If I'm a little creaky, part of it is
A little creaky.
if my knee hurts, well, I broke the thing in 1987. Of course it's going to hurt.
Dude, my body sounds like bubble wrap when I get out of bed in the morning. I'm old. Somebody put up a tweet yesterday that said, if you're excited about the Blink 182 reunion tour announcement, make sure you stretch and see your chiropractor. Your body's not the same as it was last time you saw it.
Yeah, I saw that. And I'm like, who's
Personal attack.
Who's Blink 182? I mean, I know I've heard probably like one of their songs, maybe.
All the
Yeah, that one.
small things.
That one. You know where I heard it on a snowboarding game, I think.
That's about the time she walked away from me.
I thought they were just one of those bands that just showed up on snowboarder and skateboard games.
Nah, man, Blink was
Were they though?
amazing.
Were they?
Blink was so good.
You say
I
so.
loved Blink 182.
What's another one of their hits?
Very irreverent band.
What's another one of their hits?
Pick one.
I would have to because you can't.
Lonzo, you're offensive.
Thank you.
They had a song called "Damn It" that was really, really good.
How's that go though?
I haven't heard that song in freaking years. You don't understand.
Are they really as good? I mean, you know, I can sit here and quote some of my favorite bands like crazy, and
I love Blink 182. I also have not listened to a Blink 182 album in probably 12 years.
dude, there are songs from the 1950s. If they come on right now, I could
Right.
sing to.
Right. And if I ask you to name another song by those bands, I can do the 3 or 4 that were big time radio pop songs, right? I mean, I literally can play All the Small Things right now. It's a great song. What's My Age Again? Can play it right now. Great songs. I'm just saying, I haven't heard a Blink album in a decade and a half.
That's exactly what he just did on the stream. Josh is right. That's exactly what you just did.
Anyway, Steven said, Rob, can you please answer the question of what is happening to the U.S. women's national team, or is it just the end of the season bull boat? Yes and no. Yesterday, when we lost to Spain and have put together for the first time back-to-back losses since 2017, I think. Back-to-back losses for the first time since I think 2017, if I recall correctly. Look, we had a lot of names that were missing yesterday. Alex Morgan was out. Mallory Pugh was out. Sam Mewis was out. Julie Ertz was out. Kelly O'Hare was out. Emily Fox was out. Tierna Davidson was out. Katarina Macario was out. Spain was also missing a lot too, right? Like Spain was playing their B side. We were playing like our A- B+ side. But what is going on? I think that we were so good for so long that the rest of the world has reeled us in a little bit. I think the rest of the world has caught up with us a little bit. And I think some of these ladies still have the mentality that you're going to be able to walk onto the pitch with the red, white, and blue crest on, and other teams are just going to roll over for you. That's not how it works anymore, right? Like we were the dominant team for a very long time. You know what I'm going to call it? We have the Dallas Cowboy mentality, right? We were so good for so long that we expect that everybody's going to see that star on the side of our head and cower and shake in fear. That's not how it works, dude. It's not how it works. I think that the rest of the world caught up a little bit. I think that the rest of the world kind of sees that they've caught up a little bit. I think that a lot of these women have a bit of the mentality of all we got to do is show up, show out, and make that cheddar. And the reality is, we ain't that dog no more. We've been caught, man. Like, they've caught up with us on the women's side. And until that mentality somehow gets flushed, and I think to some degree, this is an institutionalized problem here. But until the U.S. women's national soccer team can flush that mentality a little bit, until Vlatko Andonovski can kind of convince these women that, hey, you still have the talent and the ability to be the best team in the world. What you don't have anymore is such a massive gap in talent from 1 to 2 that you can just go out there and out-athlete it, right? It's kind of like when a college football team brings in a little low-tier FCS team and then has a crap day but still win by 35, right? You're like, why is the coach mad? They won by 35. It's like, yeah, they won by 35, but they screwed up a lot. They just got carried to a 35-point victory because they're levels better of talent. They are exponentially more talented. Well, we still have the talent to be the best team in women's soccer around the world. The problem is the mentality is bad. Because for so long, we did have exponential talent gap. For so long, we could just send whatever 11 out there that we wanted, and they would just go demolish whoever because the gap was so freaking wide between. I think that's a part of the problem. I think the other part of the problem that you're going to notice is that women's sports continue to be on the rise. I'm not saying they're going to catch men. I don't know. I don't care. Women's sports are on the rise, and it's the exact opposite problem on the men's side, right? I've said how many times on the men's side, we have a problem that there is this stigma about soccer. It's a girl sport. And so we got a bunch of really, really, really potentially talented soccer players that are riding pine as the third string safety on a bad football team because that's what men do. And once we make the shift to where those guys understand soccer's good, we'll be a great soccer country. The opposite is true for women. For years, that was the only sport, right? If you were a girl, you played soccer. And now there's all these other worlds opening up. So some of our better players might be moving over. It's a theory. 1 hour left on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Oh, that's a good question, Steven. That's a good question. There may be some element of that, right? Because there is a bit of chaos and controversy in women's professional soccer in the States right now with all that's going on. So maybe that's a good thought.
The Padres still clearly feeling the after effects of their monumental upset of the Mets in the wild card round. They fell behind 5-0 at Dodger Stadium before rallying to lose 5-3. Manny Machado likes the idea of winning Game 2 tonight.
We got you on the mound, so we have confidence in him going up there. He's going to give us runs. We just gotta give him a couple runs to get us going.
Yu Darvish opposing Clayton Kershaw 5:37 Pacific. The Phillies go for a 2-0 lead in Atlanta.
Yu Darvish.
The AL series are off after the Astros stunning 8-7 come from behind lead over the Mariners, and the Yankees 4-1 decision over the Guardians last night. Garrett Cole paid 8 over 6 1/3. They'll open the show with Draymond Green returns to the Warriors tomorrow, 8 days in a punching Jordan Poole with practice. Green will not be suspended.
I still can't believe Draymond did that. Like, it's so ridiculous.
No, ridiculous was how good of a punch that was.
It was a ridiculously good punch. That is correct.
Draymond walks in, the first practice, walks over, just lays Poole out, and takes some time off
Yo,
again.
that wall wasn't there. Jordan Poole
Yeah,
on the ground
yeah.
like a body.
Do they do a joint press conference and shake hands and it's about team, it's not
They
about
do a
us?
joint press conference with Dana White standing between them.
Oh, I hope so. That would be awesome. We've decided to have Daniel Cormier come in.
Fight pit!
The way Cormier moved both those guys, just let you know that if they had, he would have laid them out. That would
100%.
that would have been great.
Cormier refereed it like an MMA fight, which was fantastic.
You're not fighting me.
Fighting him.
You know why? Because you don't want to fight me.
Because Cormier would have killed both of those guys.
I am caught up, yes, Stephen, but Rob is not.
Correct. But Courtney asked me to wait till this weekend. We're gonna she apparently, so we watched the first couple episodes and she was like, I'll watch it, but like it's not at the top of my list. And then I found out that she watched a couple episodes without me to get caught up. So we're gonna finish it. It'll be finished by Monday.
That means you can watch without her. Since she already watched without you.
She watched episodes to catch up with me. She watched episodes I'd already watched.
Okay. All right. He did a great job, Trey, but he was just reffing, and he's been a fan of WWE for his whole life, apparently. So I thought he would have already been there, but who knows? Probably his contract with UFC and probably ESPN. I think he does a podcast for ESPN.
I was saying, doesn't he want to do one with Ariel Helwani?
No, not anymore.
No? He
does
did for a while, though, didn't he?
Yeah. But for the last year or two, it's been with.
Not Ariel Helwani.
No, it's a dude that's on ESPN, former player, black dude. He's on a ton of things.
Like former NFL.
Yes. I don't know why I can't think of his name right now, because normally it would just pop in there, but I can't. Don't be gone long. And he just leaves. 8:30. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than the host getting up and walking out when there's like a minute left. Ryan Clark. Thank you, James. Again, and Ryan Clark is everywhere. And for his name, just yeah. I take it back. I am old. Okay. But no, I've been having problems with names for like since the last time I got a concussion.
Memory's first thing to go.
My memory went, as far as names goes, a long time ago. But I think we both know I got a memory for a lot of other things. So
yeah, I did see that, Steven. In fact, at the end of the last Black Adam trailer, there's a moment where somebody shoots a laser at a wall and it goes through the face of Henry Cavill's Superman. So I assume that was a hint.
Also, Dwayne has said to make sure you stick around to the end of the movie.
Where's my ice cream bar, Dwayne?
Hardly in the first break. I was going to go see Black Adam anyway, because I go see all those movies because I'm a superhero nerd. But I hope Cavill shows up, because to me, and it's sacrilegious to some, but he's a better Superman than Christopher Reeve. I think when you think of Superman, Cavill's the guy. Just like I think when you think of Batman, Affleck's the guy. And that makes people mad too.
Affleck's the guy?
Yes. Because of when he was bulky and it just, it's closer to what you think from Batman the Animated Series. He's not, he was bulky. I mean, that's how Batman has to be to absorb a bunch of the stuff that he does.
The fight of the best, the money hour. The Rob Brown Show starts now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob, Lonzo, and you. Be a part of the radio broadcast at 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Text the radio broadcast on the preferred home services text line at 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, and we will read them live on the air. Can also tweet the show at The Rob Brown Show. You can tweet the show at Lonzo on Word. You can tweet all of us at The Fan Upstate on Twitter and join the live stream at facebook.com/fanupstate, twitter.com/The Fan Upstate, or by searching and subscribing to The Rob Brown Show on Twitch and on YouTube. Lonzo.
I'm just trying to creep Rob out a little bit.
You're doing a great job.
Shout out to the not bots.
You're doing an excellent job at that.
Bots left early today.
Bots did leave early today.
Yeah, they did.
So Philadelphia downs the Bravos 7-6 yesterday. Max Fried gets chased from the game after only 3 1/3 innings pitched. 8 hits surrendered in that time. 6 runs, 4 of them earned, charged to Max Fried. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts through 3 1/3. 61 pitches before he got yanked. Jesse Chavez came in and gave up a pair of hits. 1 of the runs was charged to him at the end of his inning. Lee, McHugh, and Stevens all came in and did a respectable job. Lee pitched 1, McHugh pitched 1 1/3, and Stevens pitched the final 2. Combined between those 3 1/3, they gave up only 2 hits and combined for 5 Ks down that stretch as well. Listen, one thing that Atlanta has going for them that I am keeping an eye on, Atlanta's bullpen is deeper. Atlanta has the ability to last longer in the series with the arms they have than Philly does. And that is evidenced by the fact that Suarez left the game after 3 1/3, gave up 3 hits and 1 run, 5 walks, 5 Ks. The 1 run was a homer. The HR went to Travis d'Arnaud in the 2nd inning with nobody on. But they also had to go to Bilotti to finish up the 4th inning for Suarez. Brogdon came in. Brogdon pitched 1/3 of an inning and ended up giving up 2 hits and 2 runs. They went to Hand, Dominguez, Alvarado, and Eflin. All by the end of that game, a combined 9 hits, 6 runs, all earned for Atlanta, 7 walks, and 12 Ks to the 9 issued by Atlanta's pitchers. Philly had to lean on the pen yesterday. And they did a good job. But they do not have the pen depth that the Atlanta Braves do right now. The Braves have a better pen, and they did not use a chunk of it yesterday afternoon. So if you're Atlanta, I think you are leaning today. You are leaning on making sure with Kyle Wright, a 21-game winner, but a guy who can be touched every now and then. You need Kyle Wright to show up in a big way, and then you've got to believe that the Philly back end is going to have, after a good amount of work yesterday, there might be a little bit of fatigue, right? Philly's pen, the deeper you go into series, the worse they get. Atlanta learned that when they ended their final 4-game series with Philly. They dropped the first 2 to some spectacular Phillies pitching, but then took the second 2 because they touched them up pretty rough at the end of those last 2 games. It is game 2 at Truist. The Phillies screamed out to a lead yesterday, stayed comfortable till the 9th. Matt Olson hit a 3-run shot to take it 7-6. Castellanos made the ridiculous diving catch out in right field. And had he not made that catch, there would have been a play at home plate on which the Braves may have been able to get the tying run and extend that game a little bit, maybe even win it. But the Phillies held tight. They got that win. So we go at 4:35 today from Cobb County Jr. Kyle Wright during the regular season faced the Phillies 3 times. Across those 3 starts, a 2.84 ERA, no unearned runs, and allowed 15 strikeouts and 7 unintentional walks in 19 innings. The Philly offense in 2022 ranked 17th in Major League Baseball in OPS against right-handed pitchers. On the other side of things, Zach Wheeler. They have 2 aces in Philly, and Wheeler is one of them. 3 starts against the Braves during the regular season. In those 3 starts, 20 innings of work. Pitched to a 2.7 ERA, no unearned runs allowed, and 25 strikeouts and 1 walk. Wheeler did, however, allow 3 home runs in those 20 innings. The Braves offense during the regular season, 4th in MLB and OPS against right-handed pitchers. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I hate it being game 2 of the postseason, and I'm saying this, but it's got to be said. This is a must-win game for Atlanta. It is not an option. If you lose this game, this series is over. You are not going to Philly facing their ace in game 3 and winning 2 games against them. It's just not going to happen. Scratch that, winning 2 against Philly in Philly and then having to come back to Truist and get 1 more. Because you would likely in game 5 end up seeing Zach Wheeler again. Zach Wheeler has been really successful against the Braves. But the Braves have been a great right-handed hitting team this year, and you're getting there righty today. The Phillies are up 1. We go back to game 3. Aaron Nola will pitch game 3. Game 4 is there if necessary as well. The Phils have the edge in their starting pitching today, but they had to go deep into the pen in game number 1. The Philly bullpen, keep in mind, not just did they have to put in some work yesterday, but they had to go deep into the pen because of the wild card round against the Redbirds. The Bravos are coming off long rest. And there was a little bit of question of that as well, right? There are a lot of folks who genuinely believe that despite the fact that you got to work the pen, you got to work the rotation a little harder when you're playing in the wild card round, there are some folks out there who genuinely believe that getting the first round bye is not good, right? Because you lose your momentum. In the regular season, you might have a day off here and there. If you're real lucky, you might catch 2. But the Braves, by way of putting away the division the night before the regular season finale, so the regular season finale was really more just of a exhibition almost. Then they had the 2 days off leading up till Friday when the wild card round began. They had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and Monday off. So the Braves are working on effectively a full week's rest. Well, how many times do we talk, especially in football, right? We talk about this in football all the time. How if you catch a first round bye in the playoffs, which obviously only 2 teams do that now, but for years, a lot of wild card teams were able to win in the second round against the 4 teams in the old format that got byes, because when you run a passing timing-based offense and you take a week off, you can kind of lose that timing, right? You can kind of lose that timing a little bit. You can kind of create a situation where what you used to rely on, the timing, the precision passing, etc., that goes away a little bit. Baseball's the same way, except it's less about timing between guys, and it's more about timing off the mound. It's more about timing in the batter's box. It's more about timing when you're turning double plays, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, there was a moment in the, Yankees win over the Guardians yesterday. There was a moment in that game where there was a shot right back up the gate at Garrett Cole. I'm pretty sure it was the Yankees game. Right back up the gap. Pitcher takes the ball. He turns to go double play, right? He turns to second to get the force out at second and try to give the second baseman or shortstop enough time to scrape the bag, get the ball over to first. The pitcher turns. He goes to throw the ball to second, aims it right at the bag, which is right? You want to put it on the bag. Aims it at the bag, chunks the rock, and wouldn't you know it, both the second baseman and the shortstop are making a way over there towards the bag for the double play ball. Both the second baseman and the shortstop are converging on the bag and basically had to kind of jump around each other to avoid going noggin to noggin. Because if they do, the ball gets by, now all of a sudden you got an unearned double in that spot, right? Those are the type of communications issues, the type of timing issues that can develop when you have a week off. And I absolutely do wonder if there's not a little bit of that to the ATL, right? If there's not a little bit of that to Atlanta. If those couple of days off, didn't maybe hurt the Braves more than they should have. The Braves yesterday came into the game as a favorite at like minus 225. They lost the game. Today, Kyle Wright v. Zach Wheeler, the Braves are minus 129. The Phillies are road dogs at plus 109. The Phillies aren't the favorites today, but they're not nearly the underdogs that they were yesterday. There's some question marks here, man. There's some question marks here. The Braves have been favored 127 times this year. They won 87. They have entered 114 games favored by minus 129 or more. They are 81-33 in those contests. That means if you do the Vegas math, the money line implies the Braves have a 56.3% chance of winning this game today. I don't feel good, if I may be real. I do not feel good about this. I don't like the trend. I don't like the matchup. I like Kyle Wright. 21 win pitcher. You got to be happy with that. But I do not like the trends. Kyle Wright is a guy that is going to hit, is going to get hit, right? He's a guy that's going to try to force some ground balls. The Phillies bats were freaking hot early yesterday. If they come out and do the same thing today, we might be in trouble. I think it was James that popped into the chat earlier today and agreed with what I said on Monday. The Mets are the LOL Mets. In fact, I was talking yesterday. I was talking to Bill, who is the head of podcasting that Lonzo and I report to for the Views from Mid Street podcast, available where major podcasts are found on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Play, and free on the Odyssey app, where Lonzo hosts and we talk about Carolina Panther football. I was talking to Bill. Bill's I didn't know this when we started the conversation. Bill's a Mets fan. And he called me while we were watching the Braves, or while I was watching the Braves. And I'm like, Bill, we get to the end of the phone call. I'm like, Bill, you got to stay on the phone with me. He said, why? I said, you called me. We were down 3. And Matt Olson just hit a 3-run dinger. We're now down 1 in the bottom of the 9th. Since you called, the Braves offense has been hot. Bill, the Mets fan, hung up on me. He texted me after the game. He's like, have a great day, Braves fan. Cool, man. Thanks, buddy. Mets are going to Met, and even the Mets fans know it. Phillies, on the other hand, are a workhorse team, and they scare me a little bit. Today is a must-win game for the Atlanta Braves. Drop today in this series, and your hope for a run it back are dead. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, let's talk a little college football, y'all. I have been telling you all year that Clemson at Florida State feels wonky to me. I told you last week I thought South Carolina at Kentucky had a feel to it. That feel worked out. Granted, it was because Kentucky was missing like three top-tier NFL draft picks, but it is what it is. Florida State at home against Clemson has a kind of feel for me. And I'm going to tell you why when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. Lonzo, you, me, the fan upstate. All right, streams, stay tight. Be right back. I don't smell chicken.
You don't?
No,
Do-
if somebody brought chicken in and didn't share, I will be.
Do you wish that you smell chicken because I smell chicken?
No, because then I'd be angry and hungry. I mean, now I'm just hungry. Well, no, that's not true. Now I'm angry and hungry.
You've been hungry all day, so
I have.
you need to start eating breakfast, man.
Not a breakfast guy. You know what the problem is?
That's just so weird. How can you not be if you're a food guy in general, you know, there are times when you probably should eat.
Right, but like when you say food guy, in my head that means like good food, not like Cheerios.
All right, when I don't eat, everyone knows.
You get hangry.
Not just that. There are degrees. Hangry is like the next to the last thing. First, you get drowsy. Then, in my case, I get completely goofy. And yes, you can tell that there's a different level of goofy that I get when I'm hungry. Then I get hangry, and then I just fall asleep.
I can't fall asleep hungry. That's the one thing that I cannot do. I don't get hangry. Like I feel like a lot of people use hangry as a justification to kind of be a jerk and have an excuse for it, right?
My mom had to. The football coaches sent home a note to her and asked, could I have an extra $1 a day so I could eat 2 lunches? Because by the time I got to football practice, I had no energy. And I got checked out to see if I had diabetes and I don't. It's just I need food for energy. So if I don't get it at a certain time, I just lose it. So I don't understand not eating something. And then drinking a Monster on an empty stomach. That's got to tear you up, dude.
No, not really. Like I'm not hungry. I usually get hungry around between like 11:30 and 12:30. Like end of the show, I'm usually feeling it a little bit. I usually leave here. I'll go home. I'll have I'll have a lunch. If Courtney's hungry and we have dinner, I have dinner. If she's not, then I don't eat dinner. I just have a big lunch. Unless we're like going out somewhere.
All right. So dinner, you mean supper?
No, I mean dinner.
Okay. What time would a normal person eat dinner?
7.
That's not okay. It's supper. So what most people eat around 5 o'clock. We've had this conversation before. So you just like
5 o'clock's a snack.
You're on 2-hour delay.
No, 5 o'clock's a snack.
But still no breakfast. I don't get.
It's never hungry. I just never hungry.
And I don't think it's a millennial age thing. I just think you guys are a little different, and that's fine.
All right. So here's what
I have a snack, and if you need one,
No,
I can go get you some.
I'm good.
If you don't have peanut allergies, I can go get you some almonds or something.
I got this. All right. FSU versus Clemson on Saturday. I am very intrigued by this game.
What's the line? Because I'm guessing this is going to be on Boo Box Bets.
Take a guess. Take a guess at the line. Set it for me.
Clemson by 6.
Clemson by 6 is Lonzo's call. I'll go see if it's moved. Let's see here if it's moved a little bit. Lonzo is going. Clemson is going to be favored by straight up 6 or 6 in the hook, like 6.5.
I'm going to go 6.
You're going to go straight even 6. All right, hang on. I'm scrolling down through the.
We all know I still technically don't know what I'm doing. Well, technically I know what I'm doing. That doesn't mean I'm good at it.
I would say Clemson by 7.5. That's going to be my guess. Lonzo says by 6 even. I'm going to go 7 in the hook. 3.5.
Wow.
3. Dude, I'm telling you.
No. Vegas is messing with you guys. They're messing with you guys. Clemson has this game. Come on.
Clemson is 3.5-point favorites on the road. They are minus 171 on the money line. Which means
tip your hand.
They're
Go
looking
ahead.
at like a 58% chance.
Tell us what you're going to do. Tell us what you're going to do.
Scouts Honor, I have no idea what line to go with right now.
All right. We got 2 days.
I have no idea who I'm picking at 3.5. I don't. There's some, I want to say 3.5. I'm leaning Clemson, right? But this is one of those. I've told you guys, there's just something that feels wonky about this game to me. FSU started out 4-0, right? Then they lost to Wake Forest and NC State. And you might look and you go, okay, FSU's on a 2-game losing streak right now, right? They're on a 2-game losing streak right now. But the 2 games that they have lost are both to top 15 teams, right? They don't have that Jackson State loss. They don't have that Duke loss, that North Carolina loss that they've had in years past. The two losses they have. Now, that being said, why is Clemson favored here? Because the two losses that Florida State has right now are the two teams that Clemson's beat.
So this has nothing to do with Clemson being a better team and Clemson being undefeated?
What do you mean? The line of 3.5?
You said why are they favored here?
No. Sorry, I may. Okay, let me rephrase that. Why do I have the confidence in Clemson at -3.5? Because again, the transitive property of football is a fallacy that people fall for every year, right? X beat Y, Y beat Z, therefore X should beat Z. But that's not how football works.
I was gonna say, but you just mentioned that. So I mean, it is a test.
But
if this team did this against this team, you got a better shot at looking at it and go, okay, we do that better than they do, so we should be able to beat them.
So you're looking at, we mentioned this stat on Monday. Inside of the top 15 of the AP College Top 25 poll, between all 15 teams, there are combined, what was it, 84 and 3, 87 and 3? 80 some odd and 3. Of those 3 losses, one belongs to Oregon, who lost to number 1 Georgia. The other 2 belong to NC State and Wake Forest, and both of those losses were to Clemson. Clemson owns 66% of the losses of the entire top 15 in the AP poll. It's impressive. Florida State has lost 2 games. Both of them to top 15 teams in the AP top 25 poll. Now, FSU absolutely choked against NC State on Saturday. NC State scrambled by FSU. Florida State choked late in that game. But it was on the road. FSU at home this year has been exceptional. FSU put up 40 on Boston College, just like Clemson did, right? Now, granted, FSU was at home. Clemson was in BC. But the point is, they show some life. There is I don't say these words about Florida State because Lord knows they got some loud daggum fans. There is an almost quiet confidence among FSU fans right now, right? Like they have turned around to entirely believe in Mike Norvell. They started 4-0. They got a win over LSU in New Orleans, which was an away game by de facto. They've lost 2 inside the top. Like Mike Norvell, just this season, has won over a lot of fans. And that team, despite a choke against NC State, that team has been good later in football games. So is Clemson. There is, though it took a few years for them to get there, there's a little bit of early Dabo Clemson in Florida State right now, right? There's a little bit of that feel right now where like there was some questions about, is this the right guy? Is he the right guy to take over the program? Just like there was at Dabo, like for Dabo when Dabo took over Clemson, there's there were some questions about, is he the right guy? Is he the guy that's going to be able to do this? And it took Dabo a little bit of time to get his culture ingrained, to get his guys in there and to perfect the chemistry in that locker room. And then it went from like, they're okay to, oh, this team's really good. I see a little bit of early Dabo in Mike Norvell's Florida State football team right now. And this team is searching for signature wins at this point, right? They're searching for signature wins. Now, as we mentioned, ESPN, their power football index right now is giving, let me go pull it back up. Yesterday, it was at like 72% chance that Clemson wins this game. But it's been wrong a lot this year, man. It has been wrong a lot this year. So I don't really love the power index. I don't think it's a great way to look at the preview. Still a 72% chance to win for Clemson in this game. but they're minus 3.5. I just feel wonky about this game. This is a football team at Florida State that has run the ball relatively well so far this year. They got a number of guys that have done it. Treshaun Ward, Trey Benson, Lawrence Toafili. Toafili is, and put it this way. Lonzo, Florida State has 6 guys on the team that are rushing at better than 4.2 yards per carry. 6 of them that are at better than a 4.2 yard per carry clip right now. 5 of those are over 5.6 yards per carry. 4 of them are over 6 yards per carry as of right now. And that's with a couple of top 15 defenses thrown in there in Wake and NC State the last 2 weeks. This team seems to be able to run the ball relatively well. They've also got a guy that I'm intrigued by Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson is an Arizona State transfer. If you've watched any Florida State football, you know this guy because they've talked about him extensively. Johnny Wilson, Lonzo, is a 6'7" tall, 235-pound wide receiver. And he's not like a tight end that splits out. He's a wide receiver. Jordan Travis has had some exceptional moments. In fact, through the first 4 weeks, there was discussion that Jordan Travis might be your ACC quarterback of the year. Now, he backslid a little bit against Wake. He backslid a little bit more against NC State late. But talk about a marquee win for FSU if they get it, right? Like, this is their Super Bowl. Be nice to beat Florida if you're Florida State at the end of the year. Sure, it's your rivalry game. Be nice to beat Florida at the end of the year. But Florida's not that great right now either, right? You beat Florida, it's going to be like, okay, a bad team beat a bad team. Good job. Nice. You always want to beat the Miami Hurricanes if you're Florida State. Sure. But is anybody looking at the team that just lost to Middle Tennessee State and thinking that's our Super Bowl? No. Courtesy of the losses of the Florida Gators, courtesy of the loss to Middle Tennessee State by Miami, Clemson is the freaking Super Bowl for Florida State. You're going to get their best punch. Clemson can't be looking ahead past FSU. They run the ball well. They don't throw the ball exceptionally well. But keep in mind that Clemson took on Furman, and what did Furman have? Didn't Furman have something like almost 300 yards passing in that game? Right? No disrespect to Tyler Huff. But if Tyler Huff was able to slice you for 300, Jordan Travis has got to be a threat, right? So FSU's run the ball well. They can throw the ball well. This is your Super Bowl. And who does Clemson have coming down the stretch? FSU's unranked, but they got a top 18 team in Syracuse next week. They got Notre Dame on the road the week after that. I'm not saying it's a trap game because I don't think Dabo and the gang looked past FSU to Syracuse. Syracuse is a top 18 team. Lonzo, there's something wonky about this game. I felt something weird about South Carolina, Kentucky. There's something weird about Clemson at Florida State.
The wonkiest thing you just said is that Syracuse is a ranked team. That just doesn't sound right to me. Does it? Does it? It doesn't sound right. And the fact that you're saying that Clemson could look past FSU to Syracuse.
It's a weird sentence. I don't like it. I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I feel uncomfortable. Syracuse is 5-0.
Clemson is not losing in the regular season this year. How many times do they lose? Last year was an anomaly.
Punishment on that?
Oh, for the entire
Yeah.
I'm not doing that because when I lose this week, we're done with it.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
That will be only 4.
No.
You've lost 3.
2 halves make a 1. So that would be 4. And then I lose 1 more. That would be 5.
Syracuse is ranked for now, by the way, but their wins are Louisville, UConn, Purdue, Virginia, Wagner. They got NC State this week. They got Clemson next week. They got Notre Dame, who, by the way, after go 0-2, Notre Dame's 3-2 now. They're back on the right side of things. Then they got Pitt, FSU, Wake, and BC. Syracuse is not ending in the top 25, but they are in it right now at 5-0. A bad 5-0, but 5-0 nonetheless.
Can you have a bad? I'd still 5-0, but it's a weird statement.
But yes, Virginia, UConn, Wagner, not exactly a murderer's row to get to 5-0, but they are. There's just something wonky about this Clemson game for me. There's something that just feels like it's a threat. Like Clemson better go in there and be on the A game. Like DJ better have his best game. Because remember, DJ last week, it took him about a half to find the rhythm against Boston College, right? It took a half. Granted, Florida State's been a team that's fallen apart in the second half, but they started out very strong. They went goal line to goal line against NC State and Wake to open those games up. They were up 17 on NC State. They put Wake down early before Wake turned on. I'm just saying, FSU gets out to a hot start. They make Clemson a little uncomfortable. If FSU finds some confidence early in this game, there's just something about this game I don't like for the Tigers.
Clemson is going to be up for this game. They always are against Florida State. So you're tipping your hand. What you're saying is that Clemson's going to lose to Florida State. Is that what I'm getting from this?
Not what I said.
Okay, all right.
Not what I said.
So I read something into it that wasn't there.
This game feels wonky. That's all I said. I didn't call a shot yet. We got till Friday.
So what you're saying is Florida State will beat Clemson.
Let's take a break.
I'm doing that reporter thing. I just asked the same question, but I reversed the team.
You didn't. You just said
no. I
words.
said
You didn't reverse anything.
Yeah, I did. First, I said Clemson is going to lose to Florida State. Then I said Florida State is going to beat Clemson.
I'm saying, sir, and I appreciate your asking the question. I'm saying, sir, that there is something about
Come on,
this game
tap for me.
very
Tap for me.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap
Wait.
this show.
Wait. Don't you feel generous? I feel generous.
Oh, you want to give away some Furman tickets? And
the light bulb thing's amazing when it just
I saw that.
when it goes off.
Hey, what do you say we give away 2 tickets to this weekend's Furman Paladins game at home against the Catamounts, baby? And if you win this pair of tickets to Saturday's home game against the Catamounts, you will also be entered into the grand prize drawing. Grand prize on Saturday, you are going to get the Furman VIP experience. You are going to get to see the radio booth with Dan Scott. You are going to get brought down onto the field for warm-ups and to watch a portion of the game on the field. And then you will be escorted up to the luxury box where you can watch the game in style. Oh, and by the way, the luxury box is catered. So there's that. I'm just saying. All right. So caller number 3. Caller number 3 right now to 844-FAN-FONE. 844-FANOFONE. 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. Caller number 3 is going to win 2 tickets to this Saturday's Furman Paladins game. Caller number 3 is also going to have their name entered into the VIP grand prize drawing. You will be alerted on Friday if you win that. You'll get your chance to go on the field at a Dins game, take a tour of the box, and watch the second half in the luxury box. 844-FAN-FONE. Caller number 3 is picking up those tickets and getting entered into our grand prize drawing. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate.
Hey, take us off stream real quick, please.
Hold, please. Stream, we have to answer the phone.
Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply. This afternoon, thunderstorms and spots with a high of 69.
Weather brought to you by One Thing. Improve your desk by properly installing chairs and taking your time for a tune. Join Odyssey, and together each of us doing one thing that makes it greener tomorrow.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on, wrapping this bad boy up. Devontae Adams charged this morning in the Municipal Court of Kansas City with misdemeanor assault. And this is my surprised face. It's not surprised at all. It turns out, even if you had a bad day at work, that you can't just full-on two-hand shove a dude to the ground.
Wait.
That's frowned
I
upon.
thought football players weren't held accountable for such things, that they were,
Well, I mean, a lot of the times they're not.
Okay,
But
all right.
Once again, Ray Rice effect,
I was gonna say there was actual video of
Correct.
this, so
they are much more held to account when the video is seen. Have you noticed that we haven't seen Marshawn Lynch anywhere in about 6 weeks? That was because not only was Marshawn arrested for stealing a vehicle and driving under the influence, but the video of that arrest was made public, and it looked really, 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 really bad.
all those endorsements, he was everywhere.
He was
You're right. I
everywhere.
didn't even think about that. Chips and
He was on the Manning cast every
and
few weeks.
Uber Eats and a
Yep.
bunch of stuff like
You
that.
haven't seen any of that, right? And he's going to lose all those endorsements because he did a dumb thing. The Ray Rice effect is real. If what you do gets caught on video and we see it, words don't. A picture's worth 1,000 words. A video's worth 1,000,000. If I get done and we have a bad show and I'm walking down the hall and Stone Man comes by and I shove him to the ground, I don't work here anymore. That's how that works.
I have nothing because you're right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't work here
No.
anymore.
If I shoved anybody in this, if I had a bad show,
Yeah,
and I
if you shove T2 down, you'd probably be all right. You know, Tim, the other Tim, you shove him down.
T2 would get to the ground and then just be raised back up by cloud.
Well, I think because of his hair, I'm not sure he could go all the way down.
It's true.
That
He would
stuff
land
is
on a nest.
It's stiff, man. All right.
Let the announcer guy do his thing.
Yeah,
Lonzo.
I said all right. I caught myself afterwards, but then because I did it, you thought you could too. All right, the first thing that's trending is pickleball.
Have you played pickleball?
I wasn't sure what pickleball was. I know, I believe Charlie James on our sister station, WRD, plays pickleball. I think it's like tennis with like.
It's smaller tennis. It's like a tennis court, but it's shrunk way down, and you play it with like paddles instead and a harder ball instead of a tennis ball.
So what's the difference between that and racquetball? Because it's you have two players across from each other.
Pickleball, I think you play in fours.
Okay.
Pickleball, you play in fours. Racquetball's the one where you hit it up.
Oh,
against
I
the
know
wall.
racquetball.
Right.
I played
I used to play
racquetball
racquetball
a ton, especially in college. So
Right. Racquetball's the one pickleball is tennis. You have two players or four players on opposite sides of a net. And other than that, I believe, and I could be wrong, I've never played pickleball, I believe the rules are the same as tennis. It's just on a small. Basically, it's tennis for old people and lazy people.
all right. So speaking of old people, Tom Brady is trending because he just bought a pickleball team.
Well done, Lonzo.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you very much. All right. The next thing that's trending is Hulk Hogan.
It's just old people trending day. What potentially racist thing did Hulk Hogan do? this
Nothing. It's a comparison thing. Andy Hartwell last night on NXT beat someone with a suplex. And people are talking about and so a bunch of people are bringing up old wrestlers who beat people with lame things.
With a suplex?
Yeah.
Or like a Hogan Brock
No,
body
she
press?
beat her with a suplex off the top rope. But so Hogan is trending because he used to beat people with a leg drop.
Yes, he did.
So pointing out that people, used to win with things like the Bailey to Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just a belly to belly suplex.
Yeah, that's all it is. So
It turns out if you put your name onto a common move, it can become a finisher. Hogan's leg drop was always dumb, though. Like,
It was. Although it's probably a heavy leg, but yeah. And the last thing that's trending is Angela Lansbury.
Angela Lansbury passed away yesterday at, what was she, like 96? Murder, She Wrote, man. How many, like, who didn't watch Murder, She Wrote back in the day? I think it's still on, isn't it? I think they still run episodes of Murder, She Wrote in syndication. I could be wrong. Anyway, Angela Lansbury. Oof. Let's take a break for 21 hours. Then we'll come back and do it again. Thursday editions. Fight Club Thursday coming up tomorrow. Jim Rome's up next in the jungle. Mark and Dietz will take you offsides at 3. We will see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. All right, stream, you guys are awesome.